All right, we only have a little bit of talking to do here today. Lots of working to do here today. So hopefully you paid a little bit of attention to what's been going on Slack out there a little bit earlier today. Shift you some information in terms of what our expectations were for today, as well as tomorrow, as well as Wednesday. We've got what PSAT on Wednesday, so that's not that big a deal for us.
Well, yeah, it doesn't go until.
Yeah, that's all in the morning, right?
Yeah. Come back.
Okay.
Yeah, come back before it.
Did you read Slack?
Tomorrow.
Did you read Slack?
I don't get Slack notifications.
Oh, shame. Your team should shame you. Shame her.
Get shamed.
All right. Let's talk about these last solutions here that we had from Friday. We had a couple people finish things up in class, which is about where we should have been. We covered a couple of these solutions. I want to just cover the last ones before we send you off for another couple of them. And then we'll talk about our sample assessment, then we'll talk about our assessment, and so on and so forth. So, this was our isosceles trapezoid here. Our fields were base 1, base 2, and height, as well as our leg here, the length of either non-parallel side. So, we've got an isosceles trapezoid. What? Base 1, base 2, height, and leg. What is leg?
I
We
don't
need
know
a
why
leg?
that was there. I never used it.
Do we never use that? That seems like a very odd thing to use.
Oh,
Yeah.
Base 1, base 2, height. I'm sorry. It's for the side. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, there we go. I taught math a couple years ago. Holy cow.
Because I need those math lessons.
All right. Isosceles trapezoid gates. We're looking at this thing. We've got a parallel side on top, parallel side on the bottom, and these two guys are concurrent. So, with those, sorry about that. It's been a long day already. We got base 1, base 2, height, and leg. So we've got all of our pieces, parts that we need in order to get this done. Constructors, default, alternate. Our accessor methods here that I'm looking for, we should be going ahead and writing our getters and setters. That should just be a normal thing that we go ahead and do. Accessor methods here are perimeter and area. Once again, accessor versus mutator. Accessor, we come to our object, we just mess around and we leave. We do not change the state. So we are not going to, in area or perimeter, we are not going to assign base 1, base 2, height, or leg a new value. We're just going to simply go ahead and use those things. Okay? So you get to pick data types here. It doesn't matter to me. Our default constructor here, once again, I'm going to allow you to choose whatever values you want. We're going to talk a little bit more about this as we get further on in our good old discussion about data structures and things like that as we go forward. Yeah. Good deal. So down below, what we've got, our alternate constructor. One thing that I want you to see, we are passing in base 1, base 2, the new leg and the new height. Those values are coming in order from our main method. So, or wherever you're actually constructing this object from, order makes a difference because that's how you are going to be assigning them to the fields inside of your object. So we've got all of our getters here, which is fine. We've got our setters here. All right. Once again, not really too concerned about much other than perimeter and area here. What is an issue that could have happened inside of my area method? What is a possible problem? Good. If I would have dealt with integer division, okay? Okay. Figuring out and calculating leg. So, bring up a really good idea here in terms of this is kind of one of our problems that we talked about with our right triangle at the very end of class on Friday. If you allow your user to just set arbitrary values right now. So when we go ahead and we even look at our alternate constructor, we have potential huge problems. We are just blindly passing in values and setting these values. So if they tell me that base 1 is -3 and base 2 is 17 and the height is negative 22. All right, what are they giving you? They're giving you garbage, okay? Now, what I like to do is recognize that that's a huge problem, because if I go calculate area, I go calculate perimeter, I've got a bunch of garbage that I have to deal with. What we will be doing, and that is our actual next chapter that we're going to start on Wednesday, is start dealing with how do we make decisions inside of our program? How do we check for things and make sure that they actually are valid? So good question. Do I need here, guys? Let's think about what we learned. Do I need doubles on this right-hand side? Will the negative 99 work?
Yes. It still works.
Okay, it will still work because it's going to promote it before it goes ahead and assigns it. But that's a great catch there is I've got a difference in data type here. We're not making the computer happy, but in this case here, it'll promote it to 99.0 and then negative 99.0, and it will do the assignment. I can't put double here because the declaration of my field goes up top. If I put a double here, that means I'm declaring a local variable which will die right here. Okay? So inside of here, yeah, we've got them. They're just working their way down. So, yep, I just got to put them in different order. So you can kind of have them wherever you want. A lot of times you'll just have getter, setter to make sure that you don't forget them. See ya. You would have to have some kind of doubles there, because otherwise if you did 1 divided by 2, that's going to be a 0. Yep. So, test class here, once again, we talked all about this in terms of going ahead and creating these different things and trying to test them out. Big point of emphasis here. You are creating the class definition. Your job is to essentially pass that on. Someone else is going to take your class definition and use it. They don't have you there telling them how to use it. They are just going to use it, which means you can call get base at any time. You can call area at any time. You can do whatever you want in any which order. And that's how you, as the designer of the class, have to write that code. You cannot force the user to say, well, you better call this method first and that method second and that method third, because they simply won't do it. Okay? So all of our stuff needs to be able to run independent of one another. This whole shape test one here, this was all about the idea of us going through and just simply using the different classes that we've already created. So once again, I've already got a rectangle here, so I can ask for the length and width, and I can generate for myself a new rectangle object. By the same token, we can do the same thing with our circles, because I already have a circle object, as well as my isosceles trapezoid here, which is a good stuff. And then we can get down into area and perimeter of each of these things by simply calling area and perimeter of every single one. That was the goal. That was what we kind of set forth to you before we got left here on Friday, as to this program was really about grabbing other class definitions and using them all inside of one program. So we have our main test class. We're just generating a rectangle, a circle, and our isosceles trapezoid inside of that one main method, and then we just simply go ahead and use them as we need to. Okay? So, beyond this, we've thrown some other programs out there for you. So, if we go ahead and we take a look-see over here, underneath our student resources. So, under object-oriented programming here, we've got our instance fields and overloading. All right. So we've got a couple more programming opportunities here. So we've got bank account, phone, as well as car. I've got some specifications on some of the test classes here if you want to go ahead and try those as well. Once again, no matter what class definition we are able to go ahead and generate, we should be able to write a test class to go ahead and run it through its paces. Okay? Some of these are a little bit more complicated, a little bit longer, just based upon the number of fields that I'm giving you. So that's something that you want to take into account as you're doing this. So go ahead and crank those out. or at least it's a suggestion for you. The other thing that I have in order for you to go ahead and get prepped here is our sample assessment. All right, sample assessment is here. If you go ahead and open this thing up, you're going to find that there's a class definition inside of here. And if it would have opened, all right, and also down below, all right, a test class, okay? There is no part C. There is no drawing.
Yes.
Right? So you will. Huh? Sure you could. Sure you could.
What do you mean? I could. From my computer?
Yes, fine. Google Doc. Okay. So, lots of stuff for you guys to go ahead and do here. We have a little bit over an hour. About, I don't know, about 10-2 or so. I think we're going to come back together and try and run through some of these solutions here from our programming. The sample assessment we will for sure clean up and go over at the beginning of class tomorrow. We are going to crank through our assessment as well as a couple more topics for object-oriented programming and put that to bed so we can move on to decision structures on Wednesday.
Is that harder than this?
I mean,
Maybe.
theoretically, as the further you go, the harder it gets.
I will be drawing pictures, but...
Whoa, picture time.
All right. Time is yours.